afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's keynote session from Reputation.com. Subject today is how to steer your dealership to online success and turn online feedback into action. My name is Phil Capper. I'm the Enterprise Sales Manager here at Reputation.com. I've been with the business for getting on for 3 years now. However, I've been in customer experience now for many years, so lots of experience in this sort of field, and happy to field any questions you might have at the end. Of course, as we do engage through this agenda, do feel free to write down or send in any questions that you've got, and I will spend some time at the end to answer any questions. To begin with, in terms of the agenda, I'd like to take you through a quick introduction into Reputation.com. I'd then like to talk about what we call your digital front door, and that's the first place that consumers see of your business online when they're searching for your brand or searching for a car. And then what we do to turn feedback into action, so listening and digesting the customer feedback that you get across review sites or social pages to help you really understand what customers are saying about you to ultimately improve operationally. Then I'd like to talk about the Reputation Scorex, which is the latest iteration of our reputation score, a patented technology and measure to help you understand how you're performing at a dealership level and group level, of course. Then I'd like to show you a case study from Robinson Day, a video that I'd break off to, and then ultimately I'll come back with any questions that you may have. So first and foremost, to take you through an introduction to Reputation.com. We were founded back in 2006. We pioneered the space of online reputation and customer experience management. So currently we're servicing over 400,000 business locations across lots of different industries, but auto is certainly by far our biggest. As I'm sure you can imagine, we're huge in North America. However, EMEA is by far our fastest growing market, with most of the dealership groups or manufacturers working quite closely with us now to overall improve their reputation online. Our platform's been designed from the ground up to meet the demands of enterprise businesses, so it will work for any business of any size and scale. And currently we're managing over 100 million reviews and social posts across the entire web, really. That includes also survey results from a first-party feedback perspective, but ultimately we're managing somewhere in the region of about 3 billion pieces of feedback for our clients. Of course, as you can see by some of the brands on the screen here, we work with some of the major OEMs as well as some of the large dealership groups here in the UK. And something we'd like to point out is what we call our Automotive Reputation Report. It's something we release about every 6 months to help the UK market and EMEA market understand how you're performing as a business, how you are represented to your competitors, and help you understand how the market's going in general from a reputational feedback perspective. And we create that using lots of different sources across both Europe and the US. But here in Europe, we focus on about 15,000 locations to get feedback and help us understand what customers are saying. So it's mostly sourced from Google and, of course, social media, mainly because this is the biggest point of feedback that any organization will get. And, of course, it's the go-to place for consumers in terms of your digital front door. So some of the talking points that we found as part of the report is that managing reputation results in up to 10% more sales. We see this time and time again. Those organizations that work closely with us to improve their overall online reputation see a huge increase in sales. And that's driven by improving the visibility of that organization online, but ultimately driving more and more customers to the front door. And of course, that's not just physically nowadays, it can also be virtually. We've obviously, due to the pandemic, seen lots of mentions increase over the last sort of 12 months around health and safety, and that includes things like PPE and, of course, mentions of COVID-19 and so on. But in terms of reputation score itself, we certainly see that automotive enjoys the highest average score across any other industry that we work with, so something to be proud of there as a sector. So, just in the report as well, and this is available for you to download at any point, the top 3 brands that stand out based on the way they deal with their customers and the reputation that they are perceived in the market is the likes of Lexus, Kia and Hyundai. So certainly something worth looking at. It's free to download. Feel free to go onto our website and download the latest version of that. So now as we talk about your digital front door, so we call Google now your front door, in essence. As I'm sure you can imagine, as a consumer yourself, when you're looking for a product or a service, the first thing you do is fire up your phone or your desktop, whatever it may be, to search for that product or service. And the first thing you do is go to Google. It's just something we do naturally now as consumers. So making sure that your Google My Business Knowledge Panel is accurate and consistent and up to date is of paramount importance. And one of the things that we do as a business is help organizations do that. And we do that by creating a source of truth of information in our platform. And then every 24 hours, and most importantly, we push that information out into the different sources out there. It's not just Google. Google's obviously the priority just due to the traffic that they have, but also the likes of Bing, Facebook, Uber, Waze, all these different sources of information that hold information about your location. We push this data out to. The reason we do that is because Google like fresh data, so that we push it every 24 hours, even if it hasn't changed. And the reason that for that is because we'll date stamp that data. Each day it's sent, we'll date stamp it, and therefore when Google look to your data, they'll see it's fresh, it's up to date, and you're constantly updating it. And therefore they trust it more and ultimately rank it higher. But we see time and time again, by managing this environment, organizations will see 10 times more traffic come through this environment than they ever will through their own website. We call them almost like microsites for your own brand. So something always worth keeping on top of and managing. And as we talk about that, I'll start talking about the algorithm itself and how it's influenced by Google. But in essence, they look at Google My Business as the biggest individual factor as the part of the algorithm. Then beyond that is things like behavioral and citations, i.e. how does the information on Google My Business compare to other sources of information? And then beyond that is things like review signals. And that's not just are you getting reviews and are they positive, but are you getting them regularly? Are you engaging with them both personally through negative and positive feedback? And by engaging in these ways, we know that has a huge influence on how Google will see your business and ultimately rank your organization in that all-important Google search. And we know this is important. We know as a business that this is the algorithm, how they do it. But Google see it as important as well. They're investing more and more and more into this space. Just due to the pandemic, they're asking how organizations can help businesses improve their overall visibility online. And they're doing this through TV campaigns today to help these individual independent businesses improve their visibility online by asking consumers that obviously want to support their local businesses, leave reviews and leave feedback about them online and drive that all-important algorithm. So Google are investing heavily in this, and whilst we don't deal with the small independent businesses, it just shows the importance of it and shows that Google are investing in this space quite significantly. This particular slide here that I'm showing now is just showing one example of our customers that's worked with us now for they're just going into their third year. So they started with us in Q1 18, and back then we started to request reviews via email and things, but we also launched something called Review Booster. Review Booster, as you can see here, just following this purple line, has doubled the amount of reviews that we're getting for this organization quarter on quarter. So they've gone from a little under 4,000 reviews a quarter to now a little under 9,000, and now they've reached an all-important high of just under 10,000, which is significant. But of course, it's only significant when you start to see benefits for it. And if you look at the blue line, this is how many times their listing views have appeared in the search results and ultimately driven more traffic to them. And that is almost parallel to that review volume. So it shows that review feedback is super important when dealing with this customer feedback and driving that visibility online. So turning feedback into action and insight behind the feedback. So if we start to look at some of the things that our platform does, this is just an example of how we apply AI and natural language processing to the feedback that we get from your customers. And we're able to create these sentiment maps to help you understand how you're performing as a business, what customers are saying positively about you, what customers are saying negatively about you. And that's the same across various different categories. So again, we can look at COVID-19, where customers are talking about it now and how you're engaging and how you're working to protect both your staff and, of course, your customers. And then finally, what I want to do is talk about Reputation Scorex. As I mentioned to you earlier, this is a patented technology. It's been around for a number of years now. However, we've now launched very recently what we call our Reputation Scorex. It's the latest iteration of this capability. But in essence, what it does is it takes into consideration all of these things. So how your customers perceive you, what they're saying about you, the general sentiment in terms of the feedback that they're giving to you. The visibility, so how you're appearing in search when someone is doing that all-important search for a new vehicle. And then, of course, engagement, so how well you are about engaging these customers, dealing with complaints, and even complimenting and thanking those that are giving positive feedback. So these three areas now make up the reputation score. And of course, it's all well good having a scoring system that allows you to bonus dealerships, for example, on overall customer experience, but without having the ability to be able to make significant changes to this score, it's quite difficult for a dealer manager to be able to do so. So reputation score now comes with it prescriptive changes and prescriptive suggestions. So you'll see here that they get recommended via the platform on things they can be doing to improve the reputation score. And improving the reputation score is of paramount importance. We always see a direct correlation between reputation score and ultimately revenue. So if reputation score goes up, revenue goes up. Similarly, if reputation score goes down, it's a very early indicator that revenue is going to go down, and you need to look to the operation to understand what is going wrong. And of course, this feedback will help you see where you're making those errors and what you can do operationally to improve all of that. What I'd like to do now is take you to a case study. So the case study is for Robinson Day, obviously part of PSA Retail. They've been with us for a number of years now, but I hope that the case study can kind of give you a vision as to why they chose Reputation.com, the benefits they're getting from using our platform, and of course, just to help you kind of visualize the importance of this sort of stuff. Of course, once the case study is complete and finished, I will be back to answer any questions that you've got. So feel free to send them over now, and look to answer them upon my return. Thank you.
Robinson Day is a manufacturer-owned group in the UK, looking after Peugeot, Citroën and DS, and more recently we've taken Vauxhall as well as an additional franchise with the acquisition of Opel Vauxhall by PSA on a more European basis. So about 4 or 5 years ago we created our values as a group, which is extremely employee focused to get the employees on track with where we wanted to achieve as a business. We decided when we rebranded Robinson Day back in the middle of 2016, and that rebrand took place to pull together our Citroën retail group, which was our Citroën arm of the business, to pull it in with Peugeot, which was the Robinson Day arm at the time. And when we pulled together and rebranded as Robinson Day in the middle of 2016, we relaunched our vision. So we made it clear to our employees what we wanted to achieve and how we wanted to succeed as a business in the UK.
I think the biggest changes really come from the dealership. Before, they were mainly just focused on their CSI results, their customer satisfaction results. But now it's much bigger than that, actually. You need to focus on the way that your business looks online. It's so important for retaining customers and also getting that conquest business as well for the future. So I think that's the biggest change, is that actually the salesmen and the people in service, they will be thinking about customer satisfaction, not just from a CSI perspective, but from an online perspective, and whether that customer is going to go home happy and leave a good review for the dealership. Reputation.com gives us a lot of reporting, a lot of insight into our business. So it doesn't just give you the standard reports, but it does give you the standard reports, but it gives you so much more. It gives you word clouds and burn down charts. It gives you so much information about what the customers are saying. It's not just about a star rating, it's actually what the customer is saying in that review and which sales advisors they're mentioning in the review. It's pretty impressive, and you can also use the tool to filter between, look at how your reviews have been year to date, look at how well you've been improving year on year, month on month. You can also drill down by dealership. So you have a certain dealership that isn't performing as well in certain areas of the business, you can really use the Reputation.com platform to drill down into their performance and work out why it is. So it might be something to do with customer parking on site, that they're getting a few negative reviews. It might be to do with an individual person at the dealership, but Reputation.com gives you that visibility to kind of work out what the problems are and sort them out. And the general managers are the ones that have the responsibility to reply to 100% of the reviews. Whether it's positive or negative, every customer that leaves us a review will get a reply. And that's important to us. We really have to make sure that our customers understand that we do really appreciate their feedback.
But the beauty of the platform is it gives us some real good, clear insight, whether that's the verbatim, whether that's the comments that we see coming from customers, whether we can tie those up to other performance issues maybe in the sites, whether positive or negative. But the simplicity, the ease of use, the ability to access it through an app all makes my life a lot easier. It makes the senior team easier, and also there's really good clear comparison across a variety of different businesses and departments, so we can see exactly how we're performing at any instant. The beauty of seeing the exact clear feedback from the customers as well is it allows us to move ourselves forward. It allows us centrally to respond, not just to the negatives, but also to the positives, which is absolutely key to really trying to manage our online reputation.
At head office, we're always looking at the Reputation.com platform, looking at our score aggregated from all the customer reviews from all the online platforms. We also have weekly reports that are sent out to all the management, and also monthly reports that don't just show the individual performance of each dealership, but as a group as a whole, Romson Day, and what our performance is. So we have regular meetings as well to review our performance, and also to analyse which review platforms we're not on and we don't have a presence on, or the review platforms that we're not looking after and nurturing.
Yeah, at a senior level as a board, and also with our operations directors, we can see instantly the performance and scores of all of our sites. We can see our group score, we can compare that to other entities of our group in other countries as well, so we can see how we're performing and how we're driving our business. But the goal is we can set ourselves an expectation and set ourselves a bench. Within our vision as Robinson Day, one of our key goals is to make sure we exceed customers' expectations. Almost when we set that vision, we set it at a relatively simplistic level so everyone got the same drive and buy-in. But the catch is it needs a numerical target. It needs a goal internally at board level that we are driving and aspiring to achieve. And with the clear and concise reporting that we see within Reputation.com, we can ensure that collectively we're driving across each region of my business and each franchise of my business to make sure we're achieving our internal goal.
Using a platform like Reputation.com really helps us align with our core values. With people, pride and praise. With the people, it's all about the people that are working in the business. With pride is having pride for working for Romson Day. And the praise is all about receiving the praise for the good job that we're doing, not just internally within the teams, but actually from our customers as well. And that really does help it to be ingrained within our business.
Yeah, definitely for us, we had a number of choices at the start of this journey, and we're absolutely proud of the fact we work with Reputation.com, the feedback, the verbatim, everything that we can see to help us drive our business, the reporting, the clarity, the access to the app. Often when we deal with other major suppliers, we have to get a lot of tailored, bespoke reports. This just provides everything in an instant, and for us it's been a real intrinsic tool to allow us to manage our customer reputation.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that case study. So that is now available for you. Again, if you want to join the Reputation.com YouTube channel, we have lots of different case studies and videos about online reputation management and customer experience management. So feel free to join there. In the meantime, of course, we've got a quote from James Weston here, but of course, I am open up now to answer any questions you may have. And of course, beyond that, should you have any further questions, you can feel free to visit us at any time. We're in the virtual hall 2 at position 3, and we're available for a live chat at any point. And of course, I did mention earlier about the auto report. This is completely available free of charge to anyone that wishes to download it from reputation.com/gb/auto-report. Thank you very much.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our half an hour on the topic of steering your dealership to online success and turning feedback into action. With us live is presenter Phil Capper. He's Enterprise Sales Manager at Reputation.com. And I'll now put the questions to Phil that have been submitted by our audience this morning. You can please continue to submit them over the next few minutes. So, hi Phil, thanks for joining us at AM Live. I've got my first question.
Okay.
Now, how much dealer feedback, reviews, comments, etc. would you say currently goes unnoticed, unacknowledged by businesses, and what are the consequences of this?
Interesting one, actually. It varies from organisation to organisation that we deal with, and of course, I'm sure you imagine it's those that are on top of managing their reputation generally see all of the comments and reviews that happen. Those that wish to ignore it will quite often unnotice the ones that are occurring as well. So the consequences of it, as I've shown in my presentation, it has an impact. Of course, we're called Reputation.com. We want organisations to improve how they're perceived online, but the implication that has from a revenue perspective is phenomenal. As you've seen from the graph that I showed, hopefully it wasn't too complex, allowed you to see that managing reviews and requesting reviews of customers and engaging with reviews in these environments influences that all-important Google algorithm, and therefore will help you be found more in search and ultimately drive more and more footfall to the dealership, hopefully transferring that into car purchases and ultimately revenue.
What are the most surprising things dealers discover when they first embark on a full analysis and understanding of their digital reputation?
The first thing, the most surprising thing that I've ever seen, certainly in my early days in this job, were when we switch on the platform for an organisation, we don't just switch it on and we start on that day. Our platform will actually go back in time to the first ever review ever left about that organisation. So here we are potentially starting in 2021, but we could be pulling back reviews as far back as 2012, 2013, whenever the first reviews started to appear online. So that's great because, you know, it's a real eye-opener to see that feedback as far back as that. But of course, we're able to analyse that and we can start to see trends to see if you've made any improvements over that time, and then start to plan and work out a way to improve that over time. So it's always evolving, but I think the biggest shock is the fact that we can drag all of that feedback in from when reviews really started.
And the question here from Elliot. Thank you, Elliot. How does the success of new leads and business rank from Google searches? How does it rank against social media such as, and he says, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn?
Okay, that's a good question. You're always going to get leads from social, especially if you're active in social. We have lots of clients that aren't necessarily active and some that are, but the more active you are, the more you will build that local community and drive leads from social. That said, Google is always going to be the king. You know, put yourself in the shoes of a consumer when you're searching for any product or service. 9 times, if not more than 9 times out of 10, the first place you go to is Google. Whether that's through your mobile device, through a desktop, you'll go to Google and do that Google search. So, you know, managing your environment there. We talk about Google a lot because it dominates about 94% of global search traffic, I think it is. We manage all environments, of course. It's not just Google. It's not just the Bings and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. We'll manage every environment. We talk about Google because that's the bulk of where the business comes from. But you know, in terms of the quality, the volume, everything, Google far outweighs all of the social channels from that point of view.
Okay, so I think you touched on this just now, but there's a question from Charlotte. Do your business Reputation.com, does it take into consideration all review platforms or platforms like Google, such as Trustpilot, and she mentions Yell.com?
Yeah, absolutely. So we pride ourselves on a software company. We we work with all of the vendors. So you mentioned Trustpilot there, key ones in the auto industry, the likes of Judge Service, Auto Trader. We have relationships with all of these organizations. The idea is we're trying to give you that holistic view of everything without having to manage however many credentials to log into all of these Google My Business pages, Trustpilot pages, Judge Service pages, whatever it may be. We pull the reviews into our platform, give you the ability to respond to those reviews, and then push those reviews or responses back to wherever they came from. Of course, because of that, we can then start to analyze the different sources and see where you're getting more positive feedback versus other sources, and so on and so forth.
What is the most common reputation score enhancer, or something that can damage it? So there's a positive and a negative. What should you be doing that will have the most positive impact, and what should you be definitely avoiding if you don't want to damage your reputation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to how we call it in the presentation, really. It's all about the digital front door. Of course, we're talking about driving customers into your dealerships to ultimately make that all-important purchase. But every physical journey typically starts with a digital journey, and it starts with your digital front door. So if you've got all these listings pages, we talk about Google, but we've got Bing, Facebook, wherever information about your dealership appears online is where it starts. So getting that consistency, that completeness, making sure we're filling in every category, making sure the opening hours are right and consistent across all those sites is important. We also, through our platform, we push that data every 24 hours. Even if the data hasn't changed, we push it every 24 hours because according to Google, we pushed that data yesterday. And because we pushed it yesterday, they trust that data more and therefore will rank you higher in search. So it really does influence the algorithm from that point of view. So everything we do is about that influencing the algorithm, so to speak. It's about driving or making Google trust you more as a business because you're pushing regular information to them, you're constantly updating your opening hours, you're getting lots of reviews, you're engaging reviews, not just negative reviews. It's important to engage with positive reviews as well. And the more you do in those two areas, there's more to it than that, but the lowest hanging fruit is manage the business listings, engage better in reviews, and by doing that you'll see that upward trend in terms of how you're appearing in search, and ultimately those customers then clicking for directions or clicking on the website, clicking to call you, whatever it may be, and then converting into customers ultimately.
Okay, thank you. I want to focus on my online reputation, perhaps more so than I have before, or perhaps for the first time. So who within my organization is going to be the best person to take responsibility for that, or who is typically responsible in other businesses like mine?
Great question. Reputation is the responsibility of everybody in the organization. If you think about it, the CEO all the way down to the person on the shop floor in sales and facing the customer, it is everyone's responsibility to make sure you are offering the perfect customer experience. I think the question is probably more geared around who's responsible for managing the software, in which case, because of the breadth of our platform, it does cross multiple departments. So if we're thinking about it as how can we optimize our business listings and drive more people to the front door, absolutely sits in the digital marketing department. If we're thinking about it of we're listening to our customers' feedback and we're analyzing it and we're trying to operationally improve, that firmly sits in operations. So our platform really tries to break down those barriers between lots of different departments within an organization. So different parts of it is used by different things. Typically, our engagement usually starts around digital marketing because it's all about the ROI and the driving more footfall. But the benefits it has across the board is phenomenal. If you think about the operational sides to operational improve and improve that customer experience. But also, if you think about it from a HR perspective, customer experience is only as good as the service your staff are offering. So if your staff aren't happy, then they're not going to offer a good service to the customers. So even human resources use our platform because we can pull in things like Glassdoor reviews, Indeed reviews. We can do employee surveys as well as customer surveys. So it is quite a broad spectrum of who takes responsibility for it, really.
We've got time for one more. You talked in your presentation about industry average and best in class, but what about a simple thing perhaps? I want to compare my business to another dealer that offers the same brands, or it might be a geographical location we share. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, the industry benchmarks is based on the auto industry, so how you as a dealership compare to the industry average in the auto industry in the UK versus the best in class. We also offer another module that is called Competitive Insights. In essence, all of this feedback is public-facing feedback, so we can go and get it for you as a customer of ours. But if you see yourselves competing with a certain brand nationally, we can go and get all of the data for that brand, all of the customer feedback for that brand, sit it alongside your feedback and see how you compare and how you're doing things better, or how you can be looking to improve things at a brand level. But similarly, you may well be a dealership in a specific town competing with an independent dealer in the same town. That is considered local competitive insight. So again, we can go out as far down as a specific location, get the customer feedback that appears online for that location, and sit that alongside that specific location you want to understand how you're comparing against.
Fantastic. Well, half an hour is clearly not enough to spend on such an important topic, but I think we've done a grand job in what is a very full day's agenda here at AM Live. And I have to bring this session to a close with thanks to you, the audience, and particularly to Phil. Thank you very much. Final note, Reputation.com is in Exhibit Hall 2, Position 3. There are handouts and videos to watch there, as well as talking to the team. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks you. Thanks.